today. Working on these old cars. Got an old dyno file. It's made for machinists. Just cutting some sandpaper for it. You can only get it just like this. The big pieces, because it's so old, it's 24 inch. But I was thinking about something. I heard somebody trying to tell a story the other day, or repeat a story that about a coon hunting trip. Well, it reminded me of something that I wanted to put on. Maybe get out there. It's just something. Every time somebody says something about an old coon dog or something, I remember the stories. As back when I was younger, I coon hunted. Me and a buddy of mine, we coon hunted a lot. And well, I'm probably gonna change his name in case somehow or another he gets a hold of this, because to me it's funny, and I don't want to laugh at someone else's expense. But I do like to hear a good story every now and then about something, especially if it's true. We would load our dogs up. We had some dogs, and one of them Rosie and Dixie and Blue. Two of them were black and tans, and one of them was an old blue tick. And we would put them in the back of that truck, and we would go down the roads at night. You know, things used to be a lot different. You could just ride around and find a place to hunt. Nowadays, there's just very few places you can hunt. But either way it goes, we were riding down the road, and man, we were looking, and we were trying to find a place to dump the dogs out. And we had a couple of them that were young, and the old blue dog, the old Walker dog, he was to train the younger ones. But we couldn't really find a hot trail to put him on. He was getting old, so we would try to put him on a hot trail where they would just fall in behind him. And all of a sudden, we was going down the road, and a coon run right across in front of the truck. I heard the old dog go to hollering in the back, and he smelled the coon. So what we done just immediately, we just locked up the brakes and stopped and popped the dog box open, throwed them out. And as we throwed them out, there was a slope. That coon run down that slope, and those dogs run down that slope. Well, the dogs, the slope was so steep, they passed the coon up. The coon went up a tree right there on the slope, and the dogs were down in the bottom. Well, my old buddy, I'm going to call him Pete. My old buddy, he went down the hill there. He was looking, and he had his headlight on. He was shining everything across the woods, and he said, there he is. He's up there right beside you. And we did tree work and all kinds of things. We had a truck full of chainsaws. And he was shining up that thing in that tree, that coon in that tree, and the dogs was down there sniffing around, running all around him. And he says, there he is right there in that tree. Cut that tree down. And apparently he didn't notice. He's standing right up under the tree. I said, man, I can't cut that tree down. Well, he was a pretty persistent type of fellow. And to the point that he's a little bit aggravating. And he said, well, you just cut the tree. You just do what I say. I said, all right, I'll go get the saw. I said, you sure you want me to cut this tree? I cut the tree down. And as I cut the tree down, I'm standing on top of the slope, and he's down in the bottom of it. Well, he had that light on his head, and he was spotting that coon. Now, originally you'd think, well, we'll cut the tree down, the coon will take off running. Well, as that tree began to lean, that coon started to panic. And when he panicked, he couldn't see anything but that light that was in his eyes. So they shined, that coon jumped and hit my buddy Pete right in the top of the head and knocked that light off his head. And all of a sudden, the dogs, they seen it because there's the only light out there. The dogs seen that coon jump out and hit my buddy, knock his head off. And the dogs jumped on my buddy and was attacking him. And he was calling him by name, you know, because two of them was his and one of them was mine. He's calling, get these dogs off me, get these dogs off. But amidst the whole thing, as the coon got down there, and then the dogs went to attacking him. Well, that old tree that I said was going to hit him, And as that tree went to falling down, and all them dogs was done piled on top of them, that coon probably done long gone, but they thought they had a coon. Here come that tree, and that tree was, it was just, wasn't a big tree, but just long enough to where all that brush, it just came down and thrashed him real good. And he says, "Get this tree off me." Well, I really wanted to get the tree off of him. But I had seen such a sight. I had a light on my head too. When that tree thrashed him like that, and them dogs, I went to trying to come down the hill, but I was laughing so hard to where I fell down the hill, and it took forever to get all that mess straightened out. But I thought it was pretty funny, and I ought to tell you about it because I laughed all the way down, and all the way as I was cutting, I laughed, and I did get the dogs off of him pretty quick. He didn't get hurt, but it's just one of those things where you got somebody said, "Just go ahead and do it." It ain't always the thing to do. Sometimes you should listen to the folks around you. I appreciate you listening to me today. Just thought I'd share something with you. Thank you for watching.